On last week, we talked about the characteristics of a good wife. Today, we're going to flip it and talk about the brother, the man, and I just want to talk about from the subject of when a man loves a woman. When a man loves a woman. Today, I'm coming from the book of Ruth. I had a hard time trying to pin down exactly how to make this work. So I'm going to use as a text today Ruth chapter 1, verse 1, Ruth chapter 1, verse 6, and then I'll do Ruth chapter 1, verses 16 through 22 as the text, and then we'll go through this book of Ruth, and we'll look at really the characteristics of a good husband, but just using the title, When a Man Loves a Woman. So would you please stand with me as we start with Ruth chapter 1, verse 1. Then we'll go to Ruth chapter 1, verse 6. And then Ruth chapter 1, verses 16 through 22. Ruth chapter 1, verse 1 says, "In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land." And I want you to just remember that, all right? There's a famine in the land. "And a man from Bethlehem in Judea, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab." Go down to verse 6. Now, what happened between verses 1 and 6 is this. This man and his wife who lived in Bethlehem, there was a famine. They went to this place called Moab where there was food. And their 2 sons. What happened between verses 1 and 6 is that the husband died and the 2 sons died. The 2 sons had married 2 women in the land of Moab. Their 2 sons, it was a wife, a husband. Naomi is the wife, Elimelech is the husband. They had 2 sons. They married 2 women. One was named Ruth, one was named Orpah. They lived there for 10 years. And in that process, the husband dies of Naomi, and the 2 sons die of the daughter-in-laws. So now, verse 6, when she heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing what? Food for them. Why is that important? Because they went there because there was a what? A famine. And now they're hearing that God has opened up the heavens and there's now food in where she came from. So when she heard now that God provided food, Naomi, the mother-in-law whose husband died, Naomi and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there. They're going back to Jerusalem. Go down to verse 16. Now what happened between verse 6 and 16 is that Naomi, who says, "I'm going back to Bethlehem," and the daughter-in-laws, at first they all 3 are going to go back, but then Naomi says to her 2 daughter-in-laws who are from Moab, "Sweeties, y'all should stay here. Stay here and prayerfully find husbands. Find somebody who will take care of you, because I'm going back home." And at first, both daughter-in-laws said, no, Mama, we going with you. And she said, "No, because I'm old. And I doubt very seriously if I'm going to get remarried. And even if I did get remarried and had 2 sons, they're going to be babies. Are you going to wait long enough for them to grow up to marry them?" Said, "No, it's better that y'all stay here, find husbands, and I'm going home." Well, Orpah, the one daughter-in-law, hugged and kissed her mother-in-law and said, "I love you," and she stayed. She didn't follow. But Ruth, the other daughter-in-law, Ruth says this, verse 16. Ruth replied, "Entreat me not to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." We've heard that. You hear that in weddings. People say that scripture. That's where it comes from. "Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if anything but death separates you and me." Keep going. When Naomi realized that Ruth was what? determined to go with her, she stopped urging her to go back home. So the two women went until they came to Bethlehem. Bethlehem means house of bread. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women exclaimed, "Can this be Naomi?" "Don't call me Naomi," she told them. "Call me Mara." Mara means bitter. Because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Now watch this. So keep this in your mind. She's hurt. She lost her husband. She lost her sons. She says, "I'm bitter." Don't call me Naomi. Call me bitter. And she says, if I was kind of angry with anybody, the Lord has done this. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has what? Afflicted me. Man, let's go back to verse 20, please. Don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. Next verse. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. Man, if God is doing all this to Naomi, remember all this. God has a purpose. As harsh as this may sound, as harsh as this may feel, as harsh as this may be, before I sit down today, you're going to watch how God works. And prayerfully, you will understand that the same thing God has done here, he can do the same thing in your life. As hard as it is, as hard as it was to accept that thing that happened in your life, that was like the worst thing that ever happened, watch what God can do. For those that are struggling with something that has happened in your life that devastated you, that rocked your world, that phone call that came, and mama died, baby died, sister died, child died, it hurts, it's painful. It doesn't get any more painful than it is. And God, whether God is actually doing it to her or God is allowing it, it hurts. And she is expressing this. She is openly expressing that her feeling is, God has afflicted me. And she says, the Almighty has brought misfortune upon me. She don't call me Naomi. Call me bitter. Next verse. So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. God bless his word. You may be seated. I love the word of God so much. I see stuff. So bring up verse 22 one more time, because some stuff, it just seems kind of innocuous. It's like, you know, it's just there. But in verse 22, what grabbed my attention was the very last part. They arrived in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. God is going to use something that seems so routine, so everyday-ish. God is going to use the fact that the barley harvest is starting. This barley harvest is going to change their world. This is what God is going to use. So let's go to chapter 2, verse 1. Chapter 2, verse 1. Ruth 2, verse 1. They arrived when the barley harvest is beginning. Ruth chapter 2, verse 1. It says, now Naomi had a relative on her husband's side from the clan of Elimelech, a man of standing whose name was Boaz. Boaz is the man. Ruth the Moabitess said to Naomi, let me go to the fields. Now remember, Ruth is the daughter-in-law. Naomi is the mama-in-law. She said, let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor. Now, what she's about to do is a process called gleaning. Gleaning is what is done is that when the harvesters go out into the fields to get the crop, anything that they leave behind, they're not allowed to go back and get that. Anything left behind, people who are less fortunate are allowed to come in and pick it up. So they harvest what they get. Anything that falls behind, the quote-unquote gleaners get to come and get it. So she tells her mother-in-law, let me go to the fields, pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor. Naomi, mom-in-law, said, go ahead, my daughter. So she went out and began to glean in the fields behind the harvesters. Remember, harvesters go first, gleaners come second. And then the next part says, as it turned out, that's key. That's key. That part right there, as it turned out. Let me tell you, it's God who's turning it out. It's God who's doing this turning out. Now remember, Naomi said, I'm bitter. God has done all this stuff. Nothing's going right. She said, let me go to the field. We learned it's harvest time. As it turns out, she found herself working in a field belonging to Boaz. Out of all the fields, what was it? One of my favorite movies, Casablanca. And the movie Casablanca, he says, out of all the gin joints in all the world, she walks into mine. Now, I know y'all don't know Casablanca. Yeah, I know. It ain't a black movie. He said, out of all the gin joints in all the world, she walks into mine. Out of all the fields in Bethlehem, she ends up in the field of Boaz, who was from the clan of Elimelech, who was her daddy-in-law. Just then, guess what? God is just working this thing out. Just then, Boaz shows up. And Boaz greets the harvesters. Says, shalom, my brothers. And they say, bless you back, my brother. Shalom, shalom. And then next verse. And Boaz asked the foreman of the harvesters. Boaz just got back. I don't know where he's been. He comes back, greets everybody, and then looks and says, whoa. He sees something out in the field that catches his eye. And here's what his question is. His question is, whose young woman is that? It's not just, who is that? Whose young woman is that? In other words, is she booed up? Is she engaged? She got a husband? She got a man? Whose woman is that? Who does she belong to? Next verse. They say, well, she's the Moabitess who came back from Moab. Now, Moabites and Israelites are pretty much related. The Moabites come from Abraham's nephew Lot had a child and named him Moab, where we get the Moabites. So they said she's the Moabitess that came back with Naomi. She said, and she came to us and said, well, can I glean? Can I gather among the sheaves behind the harvesters? And she went out in the field and has worked steadily from morning till now, except she took a short rest in the shelter. So Boaz, verse 8, first of all, Boaz saw her, but now Boaz steps to her. All right, it's one thing to see her, but Boaz said there's no shame in his game. So Boaz goes to Ruth and says, my daughter, listen to me. Don't go and glean in another field, and don't go away from here. I'm trying to teach you brothers how to be Boazes. All right? He saw her, liked what he saw, and the first thing he does is he starts providing. He says, sweetie, you don't go in another field. Don't glean nowhere else. You ain't got to go find nobody else. You don't need another man. Because the way I'm looking at it now, I want to be your man. That's Roger in the human body. Y'all got to stay with me. Don't go and glean in another field, and don't go away from here. Stay here with my servant girls. Watch the field where the men are harvesting. Now he's getting game. He's spitting game to her. Follow along after the girls. I've told the men what? So not only is he going to provide, he's going to protect. You hear me? Do you hear me? Not only does Boaz provide, Boaz protects. Not only does a man provide, he also protects. Now catch this. I didn't say this at the 8 o'clock because it came to me later. A man provides, a man protects. To my sisters, that's the kind of man that you should be needing and looking for. Now, I know and I've heard, and it's kind of crazy, I don't need no man to provide for me. I can provide for myself. As if you all that. That doesn't separate you from Ruth. You know where Boaz found Ruth? Working. Ruth is working. Ruth is putting in work. So the fact that you got a job and you got a little money and you got a car and a roof, that's all you got, to be honest. You got a job, a little money, and a car, and a house. And you run around and tell me, I don't need no man to provide for me. I provide for myself. Then what do you need a man for? A man provides and protects. I don't need no man to protect me. Well, you don't need no man. And it's all a lie. Because if a man comes in your life and he don't bring nothing to the table, you don't want him anyhow. So quit with all that. I don't need no. Whether you need it or not, that's the man's responsibility. You keep saying that stuff, he'll keep showing up with nothing. Understand what a man is, what a man is expected to do, what the role of a man is. It's his job to provide. Bring my text back up, please. He tells her, watch the field where the men are harvesting. Follow along after the girls. I've told the men not to touch you. Whenever you are thirsty, go get a drink of water from the jars the men have filled. He's taking special interest in her. At this, she bowed down with her face to the ground. She exclaimed, why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a stranger? And Boaz said, I've been told all about what you've done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, how you left your father and mother, your homeland, and came to live with the people you did not know before. And then I want you to catch this one, because we're going to go, it's Ruth 2:12. It's going to be important in a minute. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. This is Boaz talking. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord. All right, so remember over here, Ruth was saying all the stuff God has done bad, negative. Over here, Boaz is saying all the stuff God is doing good. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. She says, may I continue to find favor in your eyes, my Lord, she said. You have given me comfort and have spoken kindly to your servant. Now, the NIV translation that I read, where it says you have given me comfort, it actually says you have put me at ease. You have put me at ease and spoken kindly to your servant. When you are a Boaz, or when a man comes in your life, part of what he should be able to do is put you at ease. There's some things now you don't have to worry about. There's some things now that don't bother you as much. Because there's a man now, a good man in your life. If you are a Boaz, you put her at ease. You put her at ease. Because while she may have been on that, I don't need no man to provide for me thing, because all she got is a job. People lose jobs. People get laid off from jobs. People get fired from jobs. But if you got Boaz on your side, you might lose the job. But Boaz helps you know that, baby, we still gonna be all right. Put her at ease. That's what she said. You comforted me. Next, let me see where I am, please. Though I don't have the standing of one of your servant girls. Boaz ain't done yet. He ain't done. There's more favor to come. At mealtime, Boaz said to her, come over here, have some bread, dip it in the wine. When she sat down with the harvesters, he offered her some roasted grain. She ate all she wanted and had some left over. Boaz provides. Well, right now, Boaz is courting. All right? Boaz is trying to win her heart. And as she got up to glean, this is the kind of man you need, ladies. As she got up to glean, because dinner's over, she's going back to the field, Boaz gave orders to the men. If she gathers among the sheaves, don't bother her. Don't embarrass her. Because again, gleaners are supposed to go out and pick up the leftovers, the scraps. He said, but if she happens to gather at the harvest, at the good stuff, leave her alone. Leave her alone. Matter of fact, pull out some of the stalks for her from the bundles, the stuff we've already wrapped up, the stuff already ready to go to market. Pull some of that out. You need a man like this. And leave it for her to pick up. When you see the way she walking, pull some of that good stuff out and spread it where she's going. This is called game. Now, there's good game and bad game. This is good game. And don't rebuke her. Leave her alone. So Ruth gleaned in the field until evening. When she had threshed the barley she had gathered, Ruth is a hard worker. It's one thing to go pick this stuff up, one thing to walk all through this field and get it, but then go thresh it? That's a process where you separate the wheat from the chaff. So not only is she picking it up, she's threshing it. And the Bible says she gathered, it says ephah, that means 30 pounds in one day. She carried it back to town. Her mother-in-law saw how much she gathered. Ruth also brought out and gave her mother what she had left over after she had eaten. Which means what? She took home a doggy bag. She got to eat at the table, ate all she could eat, and took some home. Her mother-in-law asked her, girl, where'd you glean today? I mean, you come home with 30 pounds and dinner. Where'd you glean today? Where did you work? Blessed be the man who took notice of you. Then Ruth told her mother-in-law about the one whose place she had been working. The name of the man I work with today is Boaz, she said. The Lord blessing, Naomi said to her daughter-in-law. He has not stopped showing his kindness to the living and the dead. She added, that man is our close relative. He is one of our kinsman-redeemers. See how God is working this thing out? Out of all the fields she could have gone to, she ended up in the field of what's called a kinsman-redeemer. A kinsman-redeemer means that it's a person in the family, that if something happens in the family, it's their job to step up and take over for the person who may have died or the person who may have lost property. So what happens is if, in this case, the sons of Naomi had no children, the kinsman redeemer comes up, steps in, marries one of the wives so a child can be had so the name of the dead person can continue to live. That's a kinsman redeemer. Said, bring that back up, please. He is our kinsman redeemer. So out of all the fields she could have been in, God directed her to this one. Then Ruth the Moabitess said, he even said to me, stay with my workers until they finish harvesting all my grain. Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it will be good for you, my daughter, to go with his girls. Why? Because in someone else's field, you might be harmed. In someone else's field, you might be harmed. Brothers, our job is to provide and protect, because a lot of our sisters have been harmed. They've been harmed. They've been with the wrong people in the wrong places. As a matter of fact, some of us, instead of waiting on Boaz, we got hooked up with some of Boaz's relatives. Show them the relatives of Boaz. These are the ones you don't want to mess with. We got hooked up with the wrong ones. And when you see them, you're going to know who I'm talking about. So bring up the relatives. Bring up the relatives. Bring up Boaz's relatives. You just keep bringing up scripture. I'm looking for the relatives. There they are. Let's see if you know any of these. Some of you, instead of getting Boaz, you ended up with broke ass. Some of you got poor ass, lying ass, cheating ass, dumb ass, drunk ass, cheap ass, locked up ass, good for nothing ass, lazy ass, and some of y'all got the worst cousin of all, beating your ass. That's Boaz's relatives. So Naomi says, stay in Boaz's field because you don't want to end up in the field of these other cats. And some of us have been there. And brothers, some of the sisters that God now connects you to have been there. And you got to understand that. So if she's been with cheating ass and lying ass and beating your ass, then you got to be Boaz. Stay in his field so you don't get harmed. So Ruth stayed close to the servant girls of Boaz to glean until the barley wheat harvest was finished. Till the barley wheat harvest was finished. Till the barley wheat harvest was finished. Remember chapter 1, verse 22? This was the beginning of the barley wheat harvest. God working it out. God fixing it. putting it together. But now, guess what? The barley wheat harvest is finished. I might not see Boaz again. I have no reason to go back to his field. The barley wheat harvest is finished. I wonder, is he going to call me? Are we ever going to hook back up again? I could tell he was digging on me. Because ain't no man going to do all that if he wasn't really vibing with me. And I was definitely vibing with him too. But the barley wheat harvest is finished. So now what do? Do I wait around to see if Boaz calls me? Let's go to chapter 3. Chapter 3, next verse. Where are you? Went to 3:10. Go to 3:1. Or was I already in chapter 3? I didn't think so. Chapter 3, verse 1. All right. So Ruth, daughter-in-law, is wondering, will he call me? Naomi, mama-in-law, this is why the Bible says you older sisters need to instruct the younger sisters. You older sisters, you understand some stuff. You live. You've been through some stuff. You need to work with the young ladies. You need to work with them. Ruth, daughter-in-law, will he call me? Naomi, mama-in-law, says this. One day Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, my daughter, should I not try to find a home for you where you will be well provided for? Is not Boaz? She said, this is, he ain't signifying. What's up with you and Boaz? Right. What happened to that guy you used to bring around? I kind of liked him. What happened? Is not Boaz with those servants' girls you have been with a kinsman of ours? Here's what you do. Tonight, he'll be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash and perfume yourself. Put on your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor. But don't let him know that you are there until he is finished eating and drinking. In other words, girl, stop sitting around here pining and looking all sad. Wasn't you and Boaz vibing? But wasn't y'all kind of connecting? Well, girl, if you're wanting, go get him. He already showed you his interest. He already bent over backwards. He already showed that he chose you. Now, I want you to go show you choose him back. Now, the advice she's about to give, exactly, I'm not sure it's 2022 advice, so I'm not recommending it. But what I am recommending is, if you're interested, and Boaz has already showed an interest in you, and Boaz has already shown that he can provide and protect, don't sit around waiting. Because sometimes Boaz needs to know that you just as much in this as I am. This was her advice. Bring it back up, please. When he lies down, note the place where he's lying. Then go uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do. I will do whatever you say, Ruth answered. So she went down to the threshing floor, did everything her mother-in-law told her to do. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking, and was what? Which means what? It ain't necessarily drunk, but he's feeling good. He might not be drunk, but he's cool. He's cool. He went over to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night, something startled him. He turned and discovered a woman lying at his feet. Who are you? He asked. I'm your servant Ruth, she said. And he probably is like, all right. Because I was wondering if you was feeling the same way for me as I was feeling for you. I'm your servant Ruth. Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a kinsman-redeemer. Now, go back to that verse for a moment, because there's something here. Now, remember earlier when Boaz told Ruth what he had heard about her, and he said all the stuff that God is doing for you. God is blessing you. God has covered you. God has put you under his wing. God. And yes, but this is how God is also doing it. Because she's saying now, I want to be under your wing. I want to be your wife. Spread the cover of your garment over me. The way God, you said, has covered me. Brother, I'm asking you to cover me. I'm asking you to be the priest of this house. I'm under submission to you. I'm asking from you because you are my kinsman-redeemer. So she goes, number one, she's really digging on him because he's really come on strong. But number two, she believes that he is the kinsman-redeemer. Because that's what Mama-in-law said. So go to the next verse. The Lord bless you, my daughter, he replied. This kindness is greater than that which you showed me earlier. In other words, you just stepped up the game. And what I love about it is you have not run after younger men, whether rich or poor. The relationship we had in the field, it ended because the harvest ended, but you didn't go running after younger men. He said, I love that about you. And ladies, some of us miss Boaz because it doesn't come in the package you think you're looking for. And you end up with all these other asses and miss Boaz. With a whole bunch of superficial stuff. He ain't tall enough. I like tall men. We miss Boaz. So let me finish. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. I would love to be your man. All my townsfolk know that you are a woman of noble character. That's key. You are a woman of noble character. In other words, I'm glad you came, but ain't nothing going to happen here tonight because I know your character, and I'm not trying to mess up your character. And so, although it is true that I am near of kin, Boaz is going to have to reveal some truth to her. She went in because they got a thing going, they got a vibe, and also, as far as she knows, he's the kinsman-redeemer. He's about to explain to her, I would love to be the kinsman-redeemer, but I'm not. Although it is true I'm near of kin, there's a kinsman-redeemer nearer than I. I'm not next in line. Stay here for the night, and in the morning, if he wants to redeem, good. Let him redeem. But know this, if he's not willing, sure as God lives, I want you. I want you. Lie, go, you're moving fast. But lie here until morning. Next verse, thank you. So she lay at his feet until morning, but got up before anyone could be recognized. And he said, don't let it be known that a woman came to the threshing floor. We're not going to mess up your reputation. He also said, bring me the shawl that you're wearing and hold it out. When she did, he poured in 6 measures of barley and put it on her. Then he went back to town. He's still blessing her. When Ruth came to her mother-in-law, Naomi, Naomi asked, how did it go? Again, Naomi set it up. How did it go? She then told him everything Boaz had done for her. And added, he gave me 6 measures of barley and said, don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed. Then Naomi said, wait, my daughter, because she explained to Naomi, well, I know he loves me. I know he wants me, but he said he's not the next of kin. He's not the nearest kinsman-redeemer. It's some other guy that I don't even know. And so she said, mom-in-law said, wait, let's find out what happens. Watch this. For the man will not what? Until what? You got it? Are you reading it? She said, wait, let's just hold on. Don't get all upset. Don't lose it. Because the man will not wait until this matter is settled today. When a man loves a woman, when a man finds the right woman, he ain't gonna put that off. He gonna lock that down as soon as he can. He's gonna make it known to her and everybody else that this is the one. This will be settled today. How you know that, mama-in-law? Because I know how much he loves you. I can watch, I see it. He ain't about to let this go on for weeks, months, years. Tell me, we boyfriend, girlfriend, 50 years old. We ain't doing boyfriend, girlfriend. And for some of you think, you know, I'm at my age. Well, I don't know what age you are. But I know if you're looking for Boaz, God can send him. I don't know, Sister Regina Penny, I have no idea. Russell, I have no idea your age. I'm not even going to ask. But I know God sent him. When I look at Doris and Cornbread, they just got married. He's my age. We both in our 60s. He just got married at age 60. I know God is still sending him. This ain't just for 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds. She said, he gonna settle this today. Today. Meanwhile, now here's verse chapter 4, last chapter. Ruth is only 4 chapters long. Boaz is a provider, protector, but he's also a planner. And a good man knows how to plan, knows how to provide, protect, and plan. Boaz wants Ruth. There's another brother in the way. We got to get him out the way. You hear me? We got to get this other brother out the way. So Boaz does this. Meanwhile, Boaz went up to the town gate and sat there. When the kinsman-redeemer, this other cat, his cousin, when the kinsman-redeemer he had mentioned came along, Boaz said, man, let me holler at you. That's what he said. Can't you see it? Let me holler at you. Let's sit down. I need to run something by you. So he went over and sat down. But Boaz also took 10 elders of the town and said, y'all come here too. I want y'all to hear this. And they did. Then he said to the kinsman-redeemer, you know, Naomi has come back from Moab, and she's selling a piece of land that belonged to her, to our brother Elimelech. And I thought I should bring the matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it in the presence of these seated here and in the presence of the elders of my people. Because if you redeem it, go ahead. But if you don't, tell me so I'll know. Because no one has the right to do it except you, and I'm next in line. Now, if you don't, now understand, all he's telling this brother right now is about land. He ain't mentioned Ruth. He said there's some land in the family, and you got first rights of refusal to get it. Now, if you want it, go ahead. Let me know. If you don't want it, let me know. But I just want you to know, if you don't want it, I want it. Bruh man think he's talking about land. Next verse. Then Boaz said, now, on the day you buy the land from Naomi and from Ruth the Moabitess, you acquire the dead man's widow in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property. At this, the kinsman said, no, I thought you was just talking land. Now, this land comes with another responsibility, this woman, and not only that, if I marry her, the land really ain't even in my name, it's in the name of her dead husband. I ain't got time for that. He said, you take it. You redeem it yourself. I can't do it. Verse 6. Now, in earlier times in Israel, for the redemption and transfer of property to become final, one party took off his sandal and gave it to the other. That was the method of legalizing transactions in Israel. So the kinsman-redeemer said to Boaz, buy it yourself. He removed his sandal. Then Boaz announced to the elders and all the people. So y'all saw this, right? All right, everybody, I got witnesses. Today you are witnesses. I brought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Chilion, and Mahlon. I've also acquired Ruth the Moabitess, Mahlon's wife, or her widow, as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property, so that his name will not disappear from among his family or his town records. Today you are witnesses. She now is going to be my wife. Naomi told her mom-in-law told her, he going to settle this today. Because when you find a good thing, you don't play around with it. You lock it down. One guy told me one day, he said, when you find a quarter, you quit playing with pennies. You quit playing with pennies. Then the elders and all those at the gate said, we're witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your house like Rachel and Leah, who together built the house of Israel. May you have standing in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. They put a blessing on him. Through the offspring of the Lord, through the offspring the Lord gives you by this young woman, may your family be like that of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah. So Boaz took Ruth, and what happened? She became his wife. Now, again, my NIV version says this, then he made love to her. This one says, then he went to her. Then he made love to her. And the Lord enabled her to conceive. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a difference between making love and having sex. There's a difference between making love and having sex. You can have sex without love. All right? But when you make love, it's totally different. It's a whole nother level. And for those of us who have ever engaged in what's called premarital sex, and most of us have, there's a difference between premarital sex, which is sex, and right after you get married. And all of a sudden, you're doing something and just right in the eyes of God. And there's a whole difference. There's no more is that guilt. No more is that man that feeling bad afterwards. No matter how good it felt, wow. When there was premarital sex and it's not marital sex, it always comes with a price to pay. But the moment you make it right, hear me, the moment you make it right and you lay down with your husband or your wife, and it is your husband or your wife, it's a whole different ball game than when you just out here having sex. You ain't got to, y'all stay quiet. I don't care. Stay quiet. Stay quiet. But I know I'm right. I know I'm right. And I don't just know I'm right because I read it. I know I'm right because I've lived it. Every mistake you've made, I've made. Everything you've ever done, I've done. And I know there's a difference between doing it right and doing it wrong. I know that. He made love to her. She conceived and gave birth to a son. The women said to Naomi, now here, this is Ruth 4:14. When I was over here, I showed you everything that Ruth said God had done to her. Do you remember that? I'm sorry, everything that Naomi said God had done to her. That was over here. Now we come way over here. The women said to Naomi, praise be the Lord, who this day has not left you without a kinsman-redeemer. I know it felt bad over there, Naomi, but if you had just waited a while and just hold on, watch what God can do, who has not left you without a kinsman-redeemer. May your kinsman, maybe this baby you got become famous throughout all Israel. He will renew your life. Over here, life was bitter. She was unhappy. Over here, he will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. For your daughter-in-law who loves you and who is better to you than 7 sons has given him birth. We're talking about the baby of Ruth and Boaz. Then Naomi did what? She ain't bitter no more. She was bitter over here. But God is so good. And God somehow works it out for our good. Over here, she's bitter. Over here, she's got the baby. I see Shannon all the time on her Facebook with grandbabies. Because God is good. Laid him in her lap and cared for him. The women living there said, Naomi has a son. Naomi has a son. Who 2 sons died in Moab. Naomi has a son. And they named him Obed. Not only does Naomi have a son, not only did Ruth birth a son, but Ruth chapter 4 ends with a genealogy. A genealogy in the Bible is where they put all these names. That's the stuff we don't like to read in the Bible, because it's just a whole bunch of names that we can't pronounce. Where in Ruth chapter 4 it ends with a genealogy. Because this boy born to Ruth, his name is Obed. Obed had a son named Jesse. Jesse had a son named David. And in the line of David, God had a son named Jesus. So God used Ruth and all that stuff we just went through to bring the real kinsman-redeemer, which is Jesus Christ. God can take whatever happens and work it out for everybody's good. So in the line of Ruth comes Jesus. I don't know, whatever you've been through, heartbreak, breakups, blah, 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 God can work it out. And God can use your situation, your story, your life to work it out and bless the rest of us. Brothers, we need more Boazes. Boaz. I remember, and some of y'all got to remember too, remember when we used to choose people and you used to say, you got chose. Bunch of women be sitting around and brother walk in and he choose one of y'all. And the rest will say, girl, you just got chose. We need more men, especially in the black community, to understand our role as provider, protector, who has a plan for the family. And then I said at the 8 o'clock service, I do feel for the sisters, because one of the problems is a numbers game. There ain't enough brothers out here that are eligible, or enough out here who got their mind right. It's a numbers game. Whole lot of sisters, too few brothers. But for the brothers who are here, the message today is for you. We got a responsibility. If you find one, lock her up. Lock it down. A woman of noble character. Quit playing games. I love what Naomi said. He gonna handle this tonight. He gonna settle this today. He ain't gonna keep pushing us down the road. And then you accept it down the road. She says she really don't want to get married. Well, what does she want? Ask her, what do you want? If she said, I just want to kick it. Well, well, kick it, yeah. Or I just want somebody to love me. Whatever. What do you want? You need to be waiting on Boaz. Because Sister Regina Penny will tell you that he can come. Can I ask your age, please? 67. Don't tell me Boaz can't come. They just got married last year, right? 6 months ago. Don't tell me that God ain't got Boazes out there. 67. Some of y'all already just throwing the towel. I quit. It ain't gonna never happen. Don't close doors if God ain't closed them. Ron and Pat, y'all got married when? 3 years ago. How old were you? How old were you when you got married? 60. She found Boaz. Boaz came, he was 60 years old. Now, if you don't want it, that's fine. I understand. I understand. If you're happy, content, single, and satisfied, ain't no problem with that. Seriously. Seriously. But if you but you really ain't single, satisfied if you always in something. All right? If you're single and satisfied, it's just you, fine. But if you say, I'm single and satisfied, but you're always in something, then you ain't satisfied. You jumping in and out of stuff. No. Wait. Wait. Sister Regina, how old were you when we got married? 45. She thought it was over till Boaz showed up. 45. Never been married. It ain't over unless God says it's over. Some of the madness we have in our streets out here, because we don't have enough families. We don't have fathers and mothers. I did a funeral, I guess it was Saturday, one of the funerals. And I shared, the place was packed. Everybody was basically from the West End. This was the West End. And I talked about a time in the West End when we had families. And now in the West End, it's like the Wild West. People are dying, getting shot in the streets. We had families. And I challenged, especially the young people who were in the room on Saturday, I said, learn the value of just going home. Go home. Go home. I said, man, we got to go sit down. I'm going home. I'm going home. Love home. Go home. You ain't got to be out here in these streets. Go home. We'll go home, see what old girl cooking. Go home, help these kids with this homework. I'm going home. I'm going home. Girl, where you going? We going. I'm going home. We going to the club. I'm going home. I like home. Now, if home ain't right, then we got to get home right. But I'm going home.